meeting of the Landmarks Land Use CB2 Committee. It's being recorded, so just be aware of that. Okay, for the officers, Karen Johnson's taking the minutes, and our secretary. Irene Janner is our co-chair, and I'm Carlton Gordon. Make sure for presenters that you state your names clearly if you have to spell it out, and anything you have, be clear and concise. And I thank you very much. Okay, all right, we got those out of the way. Introductions out of the way. So I guess let's get started on the Landmark Preservation Commission applications. The first one up is for 176 Washington Park. Just want to know the presenter there. I'll read the description. That's one of the presenters there.
So, hi, my name is Mary Kay Judy.
Okay. All right, hang on. Let me just do the.
Sorry.
Just want to know that you're there. Okay.
Yes, and I'm going to be speaking, and Ted Kane, the architect, is also here. He's going to be speaking.
Okay, I see. Yeah, Mary Kay Judy, I see you. Okay, 176 Washington Park. It's in the Fort Greene Historic District. And the application is for full, restoration of the existing building with a new roof, top stair, bulkhead, roof railing, and new rear yard, addition with the entrance, and Willoughby Avenue. I just want to line that should be Willoughby. I think it should be Willoughby Avenue facade. And just one of the things that, since if you're doing work in the rear yard, Mr. Judy or whoever the presenters are, let us know how much it's going to affect going into the donut, as we like to call it, and how it'll, if any rear yard work will affect your neighboring buildings. Having said that, go right ahead.
Okay, great. So my name is Mary Kay Judy, and I'm very happy to be the Landmarks Preservation Commission and the preservation consultant to the project. Many of you probably know this house. It's actually at the corner of 176 Washington Park and Willoughby. So it's a very unique corner lot. And I think many people in the neighborhood probably refer to it as kind of the haunted house. The house has been in a state of very bad repair for many years. As recently as 2019, it was being sold as a teardown, which is almost impossible in this neighborhood, but it was also unfortunately the victim of an attempted deed theft. Contrary to popular belief, there was somebody occupying the house at the ground floor in the garden level for the past several decades, but the house also didn't have any electricity, any water, no services in the building. There were holes in the roof. The house was in really bad condition. Fortunately, there was a buyer this past summer, and they are committed to its full rehabilitation and its restoration. We've spent some time doing historic research to understand, the background of the house, its history, what it looked like before the renovation work that was done mid-century from 1958 to 1972. The house was built in 1868. It's one of 4 houses. It was first occupied by William Kingsley, who was an early booster and investor in the Brooklyn Bridge. He was the president of the Brooklyn Bridge Company. And it's got a very interesting history. In 1916, a Japanese doctor, he came here as an immigrant. He came to Brooklyn, and his first job in Brooklyn was to be a cook in the Brooklyn Navy Yard just down the street. So it was quite an achievement about 20 years later that as a doctor, he was able to buy this house, and he moved his practice into the ground floor. The house remained in the Takapians family until 1970. So during its whole about 150-year history, it only had 3 different owners. The project now is very exciting. It's to completely restore the building 176, full rehabilitation. The building had been divided into apartments in 1947. It will remain multifamily with a rear yard addition. So the design is being undertaken by Ted Kane. He's an architect based right here in Dumbo. And he's collaborating on the rear yard addition with Tom Main of Morphosis, based in Los Angeles. So On that note, I'd like to turn it over to Ted Kane as the designer to tell you more about the project.
Yes, thanks, Mary Kay. I would like to share my screen, if that's possible.
Yeah, somebody from our office will assist. Okay. All right, we have you.
Okay. Do you see my presentation screen right now?
I had you. It came up. It was just there.
Okay, let me try again.
Okay, it says 10K starting to share content. All right, there we go.
There we go.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mary Kay. So my name is Ted Kane. I'm an architect at Kane Architects. I'm the architect of record on this project. As Mary Kay mentioned, there's 2 phases to the project. There's the front townhouse as well as an addition in the back. This first screen I'm sharing is just to show you some context. And this is the our site marked in red here within the boundary of the Fort Greene Historic District. This is a historic map showing in 1886 the site was already developed, as well as much of the street. Next page, this is some historic photos. So this is actually the best record we have of the original structure. It was built in 1868, originally as a 4-story, and later the mansard roof was added, probably in the 1890s or so is what we think. So this is kind of the original character of the building, which we're trying to bring back. So we're using these photographs as kind of representative of those details, which we would like to bring back. This is really a very prominent site at the corner of the park, overlooking the park. And it's also a very unique shaped site. So it's actually 4,000 square feet, which is very large for a lot because it is a corner lot and also an irregularly shaped lot. These are some historic photos and also a context photo on the left here. You see within the park, on the east boundary of the park at the corner of Weverly. These are some later photographs, 1958 tax photos. And 1973, you can see between 58 and 73, a lot of the details were lost, losing its cornice and a lot of the window details, as well as some of the, some of the original windows themselves, replaced with aluminum frame windows. This is the existing elevation. So what we saw in 73 is basically remaining as it is today. It's been abandoned for many years. So it will require a complete restoration, including structural work. There's quite a bit of facade damage from roof leaks, and it wasn't really occupiable. It's not occupiable at the moment. So this is a view of the existing park side. So the first 4 buildings on the right were developed together in 1868. 2 of them have been added onto, including our building. So the top floor, the 4th floor was added at a later date. Of the style of that era. On Willoughby, you'll see there isn't a garage on the site, so that's also part of our lot. You see the Willoughby lot is the side of this building. So we are the end townhouse on the block. There's some existing photos of the condition of the house. So the facade will need complete repointing of the brick, replacement of windows. There is damage to the facade from water, and so we will be restoring that back to kind of a brownstone mix, similar to what was done next door. So the house next door was restored, and some of the others on the block. This is the rear yard. So you see the garage in its existing condition. It's actually an unstable structure. Structurally, the foundation has started to sink within that foundation. It was just a slab on grade, basically. And some of the conditions of the site, there was a storage shed as well. There is an existing driveway and gate to the property. We'll be maintaining those elements. Just to show the existing massing of the site and kind of what we're working with in the start the project, you see the the different eras of the building. 1890, the fourth floor was added from the original structure. The garage was added in 1940. And this backyard addition was also in 1890, approximately 1890, which was the kitchen addition, commonly done when plumbing came into the structure. So working from this original kind of framework, the original plan was really to develop the project so that each floor is a different unit. So currently it's a three-family townhouse. When it was originally built as a two-family. So we're converting it into 5 units. And then this garage carriage house in the back, the original plan was to convert that into a unit as well. Based on the structure capacity of that building, it's not really able to be used for residential, and it's not salvageable because of the foundations. So the strategy is to create a new carriage house in the back. We're calling it a carriage house. It's at the scale and the kind of language of a carriage house, but it will be a separate unit from the other units. So there'll be 5 units from the main building and a separate single family unit in the back. You can see from this diagram that we are maintaining the court condition. So it's a very large lot. As you can see, it's 108 foot, 5 inches deep. So we can have a full, typical 30-foot rear yard condition, where in this case it becomes a court between the 2 buildings. So we're kind of creating that court condition. The strategy as well was to try and maintain the character of this townhouse by not just expanding the townhouse or trying to like enlarge the bulk of that townhouse, but to do something very kind of delicate or extending of the kitchen extension to the back. So that does maintain really the presence of the townhouse, which is the end townhouse condition, but also allowing for this additional unit to be added in the back. This is a diagram of that carriage house in addition to the townhouse, as well as some of the other elements we'll be adding. I'll go in more detail, but this is the axon just to show the overall site conditions. We are adding a bulkhead to the townhouse. So in the conversion, we're bringing up the safety of the building. So the original stair is going to be converted into a stair, which allows for fire separation and is up to the current building codes. The code doesn't require that stair extend to the roof, so we are adding a bulkhead. We're removing the original bulkhead, which came from the 4th floor, so that part will be removed, and we're adding a new bulkhead for the fire stair. There's also a smaller stair for the 4th floor unit to have its own access. So this is a site diagram. The darker gray is the townhouse portion, which is existing. So we aren't changing any of the bulk of the existing townhouse except for the bulkhead at the top.
Will all the additional construction be on the lot, or is it going to go a little further? Or
no? So the red boundary is the existing lot.
Okay.
And the original garage is in the back of this of the lot. So that part we are, removing to create this new addition.
So you will not require going in. Well, I guess you're going right up to the next. Next lot. I guess it looks like.
Correct. Yeah. So this whole lot on Willoughby are townhouses, and then this red line represents the end of that last row of the townhouse and the rear yard of our building, of our site.
Okay. Will the construction affect any of the neighboring buildings?
No, there won't be any effect. We are going to be building a foundation here, but we've done a boring of the neighbor. So that there's no kind of underpinning or any requirements for the adjacent.
Okay, so just kind of, we always prefer it if you let your neighbors know what you're going to do, what might affect their property.
Yeah, we have been in conversation with the neighbor, and they're in support of the project. We don't see any effect that's going to happen on that. Of course, it will be monitored during construction, to make sure there's no damage or no effect.
Right, very good.
So just talking about the site plan, the overall strategy. So again, is really maintain the original character of the townhouse. So we're providing a kind of landscaped court and landscaped side yard. So the Willoughby is a very important avenue as you face the park. Right now it's a closed streets avenue where it's very much an entrance to the park. So we're trying to keep as much landscape as possible on the side yard. as well as creating a kind of outer core between the two buildings. So it's really, the one building, which is the addition, is really an extension of the Willoughby townhouses. And then the original building really keeps its strong corner and it maintains the original structure. We're going to be restoring it back to its original character, so it'll be really a gem, I think, on the corner compared to what we currently see there. So this on the left, this is our proposed changes to the townhouse. On the left is the existing condition diagram. On the right are our changes. We are going to be adding one new window, but it'll be in the character of the existing, kind of a mirror of the existing. One window was added sometime in the 50s to the building, which we're going to be removing and bringing it back to the original. And like I said, we're going to be replacing all the windows. This mansard roof was modified sometime probably in the 60s with new windows. We will be replacing those windows, but trying to bring it, keeping the size of the windows, but trying to bring it more into the context and the character of the original as far as the materiality and the detailing around the windows.
Are you able to keep, just curious, are you able to keep much of the original fabric? You're going to have to take it out and put in new stuff.
We're trying to keep as much as possible. Where there's actually some beautiful millwork on the interior. We're going to keep in the fireplaces and a lot of that millwork. There is effect at the stairwell just because of the fire rating requirements of an enclosed stair. But yeah, we're trying to keep as much of the original elements of the building. Even though it was abandoned for quite a while, that actually meant that some of those original details were kept because they were never renovated over those periods of time.
And I also just wanted to add also to your point that anything on the exterior, we're going to be saving the slate at the mansard roof. All those kind of details definitely we'll be keeping on the exterior as well.
Yeah, we're very much in favor of that.
So with the bulkhead addition, we have placed it backward from the street line. It's about 15 feet back from the property line and about 11 foot from the upper cornice, which is the mansard roof. So it isn't visible from the sidewalk or the street of Washington Park. As you get up the hillside of Fort Greene, it does become more visible because you are more like at an elevation view. But we've tried to design it so that from Willoughby and Washington Park, that it's not directly visible from the street. Just a little bit more detail of that bulkhead. We are going to be cladding it in a standing seam metal in a dark gray, which we think is going to be in a similar character and color as the slate, so that it really just blends into the kind of silhouette of the building rather than feeling it's something that's out of place. We're also restoring the cornice. This is a detail. It's going to be restored similar to the adjacent, which were built at around the same period. And it's going to be a fiberglass so that it's a little bit lighter on the structure, so we're not putting too much load on the older brick buildings. So it's going to be look the same as the older cornices, but it'll actually be a lighter fiberglass. Some of the original clipper cornice at the mansard remains, and we're going to be restoring that as well. But a lot of it is damaged, and so where we can't restore it, we'll be modeling, we're keeping the existing and recreating that. We do have some mechanical units at the roof as well, so that'll be screened. And this is going to be an occupied roof for the tenants. So we do have a guardrail here. We're creating a kind of angle to the guardrail so that it's less visible from the street. So it's also set back at an angle for that visibility. These are the materials, which is for the townhouse, in keeping with the original. So the original slate, we're going to be matching. We're going to be restoring the brick back, which requires some repointing. The brownstone, which has kind of been plastered over, is going to be brought back to a kind of brownstone that's in the mixture. Also, the other colors, it'll be in the more darker tone of in relation to the slate. And this is a view looking from the end of Willoughby, from the park, looking back towards the building, just at the existing condition. And then this is kind of what we're thinking. This is the view after it's been restored, including the window trim and the new cornice, and the restoration back of the mansard. So you can see the changes here. So you'll see it beyond the carriage house addition. So there is a large tree on the site which we're maintaining. We'll also be landscaping the side yard, as I mentioned. So the townhouse, carriage house is not that visible because of the tree, so we did do a rendering without the tree just for reference, and then when we be more visible. But you can see the strategy of the carriage house is really an extension of this, of the street front of this Willoughby Street. So that it really creates an end condition for that. Instead of seeing the side of a townhouse, you're really seeing that kind of language extend. It's in a more modern language. This is designed by Tom Lane of Morphosis. He's done projects in New York at Roosevelt Island. This will be his first residential building here. But he is very familiar with Brooklyn and this site. He's lectured at Pratt and has been guest critics there. So he's very familiar with it. So we did do a mock-up on site that is visible if anybody wants to go visit. This is a view from the Washington Park looking up, so you don't actually see the mock-up in this view. This is another view looking, you can see the map on the left there, but this is looking towards the north, also from the sidewalk. So it's barely visible, but you can kind of see a little bit of the railing. So we did mock up what the height of that railing is going to be in actuality. And it just barely skims the top of the top performance there. This other bulkhead we're removing, that's the existing bulkhead, which is visible from the street. We'll be removing that. As you go down the street looking back, this is a view looking east from, looking south from Washington Park. The bulkhead becomes slightly visible. This is the mock-up photo again. But pretty set back, so we're setting 15 feet back from the street. This is from Willoughby Avenue again, so the mock-up's not visible. This is the bulkhead. We did also mock up the mechanical unit enclosure, so that's what this is. It's slightly visible from the rear yard looking up, but this will have the addition of the carriage house, so it won't be visible once that carriage house element is there.
Okay, I guess.
Okay. Sorry.
Anything else?
Yeah, I'm going quickly. I'll get to the carriage house next, but this is some other more view looking of the mock-up, but from the distance. So as I mentioned, as you go up into the park, you're getting more like an elevation view. So that's at the point that the bulkhead doesn't. These are the mock-up photos. This is what's on site. A little bit more detail on the carriage house. This is the rear addition portion of it. It is going to be in a brick material. To be in the context, we're using an original or a clay brick, which is still using the old fired brick methods that were done in the 1800s. So it's actually going to be it's not a machine type brick. It has the texture of the original brick. And we're looking at a kind of a burnt red color. As well as the metal, which is in a similar tone, which is a 410 steel, which is kind of a rusty red color like the brick. The language is very much in the context in the language of the neighborhood and the brick module. And this street facade also we're thinking of as an extension of that scale of the Willoughby Street, but in a language that's a little bit more of an abstracted, like a sculptural language, which is just the material itself and the kind of geometry without ornamentation of the historic. So we're not trying to mimic the historic, but we're trying to work within that context at the scale. This is a section looking from Willoughby. So you can see most of the building is at 19 feet. So it's a two-story, which is at a carriage house level. We do have a street wall which encloses an outer court, a roof deck on this carriage house. But the parapet is in plane of the Willoughby Street. Just some of the details of the rear carriage house. Again, it's a brick material. We're trying to keep the material palette simple, and it's kind of a brick and a rusted metal materiality. So we're not don't want to see too many elements. And these are some renders of it. So this is looking at the carriage house from Willoughby Street. Looking down the street towards the park and looking the opposite direction. So you can see this is within a court, so this will actually have new plantings, new landscape, and also roof deck with landscape. So the idea is that it's kind of like a lush extension of the park, and then the townhouse still maintains its original character. And this is more of a straight-on view, so we'll have kind of a scale of the neighbors, and also that a break of material at the ground floor, which is similar to the language of the stoop and the basement level. So we're trying to maintain that kind of rhythm of the block. There's also a kind of additional wall that's kind of a floating wall. That creates a little bit more privacy for this court and an extension of that wall again. So it's kind of like the breaking down of that wall as you go to the corner of the park. Just for precedent, so we looked, this is on the bottom right, this is across the street from us on Willoughby at the corner of Washington Park as well. You can see the scale. That building also had an addition probably quite a while ago, maybe in the 30s or 40s, but it's a two-story conversion of a carriage house. You can see they added a floor to the carriage house. These are also some other prominent corners on the block, on the neighborhood. So we're using this as kind of a reference for us of like maintaining the scale of keeping the townhouse, but then having a carriage house addition and being within the context of that scale. Other carriage house precedents that we looked at that have been converted or added to, and also kind of in a different language. So we kind of thought that was a good example to a Washington, where it's not, it's a carriage house, but it's kind of in a new, more clean language that's separate, that allows the historic townhouse to really stand out, and it has its own character. And then this is kind of a more clean version, which is simplified, but within the context of, and in sympathy, I would say, to the historic. So other precedents that we looked at, just of new construction within historic districts that maybe have a different language, but are also very complementary in the context of the historic. So, this is the end unit at 311. Which we are kind of an end unit of a row of a carriage house, and also trying to keep kind of character of that row without mimicking it in a way. So that's just quickly through these, just to show you what's existing on the left and what we're proposing on the right. Let's go through these quickly. This is the rear of the townhouse. This is the existing side elevation of the townhouse and the proposed elevation. So this shows the bulkhead. And these are the window kind of more detail. This is for landmarks, just so we can get review that we are trying to keep bring back the original wood windows to the drawings for them. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, thank you. All right. Any comments or questions from committee members?
This is Bill Flinoy.
Yes, Bill.
Yeah, I have a few questions. One, I'm not quite the regulations as far as building on corner lots. I'm not as familiar as I should be with that. Okay. Is there anyone, Daughtry, are you familiar with that? With the regulations? Okay. Being that this is a new building and it's a corner lot, okay, as far as the townhouse is concerned, or I'm sorry, the carriage house, because there isn't really a carriage house there to begin with. It's a garage. Okay. What's the regulations on this?
Well, I don't want to speak for the architect of record, but if I may, this ties to one of my key questions, which is, are you splitting the lot into two lots?
That's what it looks like to me too, yes.
You're assigning a new address to the carriage house, so that would tie into Mr. Flinoy's question.
Yes, we are maintaining one zoning lot, just for purposes of division of the sale of the units within the townhouse. They will be separated as tax lots. So the back house and the front will be separated. But as far as the zoning lot, there's no separation. It's continuous as it is existing zoning lot. So in New York City zoning, you are allowed 100% coverages now in corner lots. That's recently as I think 10 years ago. So we aren't like over any zoning requirements. We also are maintaining a 30-foot separation from the windows of the townhouse. What we're proposing is much lower than the allowable coverage.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Within these two tax lots, does the two houses fall within the correct FAR for the building? Because it seems very bulky for that neighborhood.
Yeah, we're actually under FAR. So the existing building was, when it was built, there was no zoning at that point. But under current zoning, you can go 55 feet. So that original building is 4 stories plus the mansard. So it's a little bit, if you were to build today, that townhouse would be larger than the existing zoning, but that's an existing condition.
Okay.
The rear yard addition, we're only doing, 3 stories, so we're under the 55 feet.
So how many feet are you assigning to the rear tax lot?
So we're less than 30 feet. So we're 29 feet 11 is the max height of the front house.
Miss Ali, are you asking for square feet, not building height?
No, I'm asking the depth. The depth of the property is 108.
Correct.
How much of that 108 is going to be assigned to the tax lot, the carriage house?
Oh, so it's basically from the back of the kitchen bump out is where the tax lot gets separated.
Which is how much?
I'd have to check.
Can you go back to the site plan that shows the demarcation?
Yes. Do you still see my screen?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry. It's I'm looking at the plan now, but it's 44'2" is the rear carriage.
And that neighborhood has FAR 6?
No, it's FAR 2, so it's a very
FAR 2.
large lot. Yeah, it's a 4,000 square foot lot, so we're allowed FAR 8, over 8,000.
Okay, so 8,000 square feet for the total of the new house. I'm having a hard time with the house. It looks to me from the Willoughby Street side, it looks like a house that was halfway demolished rather than a house that was built. With these broken up walls and uneven wall. I know you're trying to do something geometric, as you say. I think it looks totally out of place, and it looks to me like a demolished building rather than a newly built project. So I love what you did to the original house, and I like that place so much emphasis on keeping the details of the building. But I'm having a hard time with the design of the back property.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
comment? Yeah, so the carriage house is going to have a separate entrance. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And it will not be, as far as the entrance is concerned, it's going to be in a separate apartment. Is that correct?
Yeah. Separate units. It has a separate entrance from the 5 units which would be in the townhouse.
Okay, but you're saying it's going to have the same mailing address.
No. So currently there are 2 addresses on this site. There's 176 Washington, and then there's 176 Garage. So we're taking the 176 Garage, and it's going to have a new address for that property.
It's going to be a Willoughby Street property address?
Yes, we proposed 9 Willoughby as the address, so it's going through the address change currently, but we don't have a confirmation.
So will the carriage house have access to the townhouse?
No.
Carlton, I have a question. It's Judy Stanton speaking.
Yes, Judy.
I'd like to, my question is about the front facade of the house that's being restored. What is the material on the mansard front? It looked like
It's a slate.
Octagonal slate.
Tile.
Okay. Dark slate or light slate? It looked light in the rendering.
I'd say it's like
gray.
a medium gray. Yeah, it's kind of like a bluish gray.
Okay.
Carlton, can I suggest we approve these as 2 separate, vote on them separately?
The problem we have is that it's right now it's still just one
Application.
property. It's he is in the process of eventually getting a separate designation and a separate law, tax law for what will become 9 Willoughby Avenue. If whatever we do will have to affect both the main building and the new proposed building. Whatever we decide, we can decide that we want to approve as presented, or if we have troubles with the proposed new little building at the rear, we can also state that as well, if that's what the most of the committee feels like. But
Can you put up
the
the picture of the rendering for the back building on the Willoughby side facade?
Yeah, I'm not trying to share my screen now that it's closed down.
If you can't, you can't. Yeah.
You have presenter privileges. Go ahead.
Okay.
The rendering of the new, the new, the way it will look new, yes. But more, you had another drawing where it was just showing that, yeah, to me that looks like a broken down property. It doesn't look like a facade of a building that belongs there.
I mean, the idea for it was that this second floor setback is actually going to be a garden space, so that it becomes an extension of this side garden level, and as well as the court. So it's going to be a very kind of active, green landscape space. So I don't think it'll feel like an abandoned court. It's going to feel very, lush and garden-like in that space.
The section where the person is that like garage or is that doors? What is there? What are we seeing there?
So that is the proposed garage, which is on this ground floor. So this part opens for vehicle access as well. This part on the left is the man entrance door, but this is the garage door in the center.
So there will be a curb cut there, but was there a curb cut before?
Yes, because there's currently a garage on the site, there is already a historic garage curb cut for that.
Okay.
As well as a gate.
Does anybody else have any issue with this facade?
I'll jump in. I have a comment.
Yes, go ahead, Patrick.
First, I just want to disclose that I have hired Mary Kay Judy in my professional work on something totally unrelated to this, but in historic preservation. So that's just a disclaimer. I'm familiar with Tom's work too. And I understand and support that in landmark districts, any kind of new construction, which is allowable, needs to be distinct from the landmarked property in question. But I do think that any new construction, which can be modern and different from, needs to play somewhat of a supporting role to the existing landmarked building. And in this case, I feel that there's a little bit of competition between the carriage house and the existing beautiful 4-story corner 1860s property. I respect that there is a desire and potentially there is some justification for that, but I agree with Ms. Ali that there is some tension that is not productive for me between the two properties.
Thank you.
Can I say this, Esther Blunt?
Yes, go ahead.
I have a problem too with the Willoughby side. It seems out of character. But that being said, the main building you said has 5 units. Can you talk a little bit more about that? It's 5 separate units. How big is each unit? 1 bedroom, studio?
Yeah, so there are currently 5 stories, including the basement. So each story will have its own unit. And they're 2-bedroom units. So the front of the house is the living area and the kitchen. And then there's 2 units in the back of the house for each.
Okay. Okay, now I better understand it. Thank you.
No problem. I did want to show this rendering again, which kind of looks down Willoughby. So you can see that the scale of the back house is quite a bit smaller than the front house. And I think it's also in the language of that street wall. So it's not feeling like it's competing And one of the real strategies we had was to try and emphasize, the historic character of the townhouse by not touching it in a way. So when you see down this block, you're going to be seeing the landscape and a completely separate feeling building that doesn't feel like it's an extension or an attachment. Or you see a lot of carriage house additions that are really just the bulk of a townhouse and you extend it deeper, which we could have done, and we have the the zoning to do that. But for us, it was much stronger for this townhouse to create a courtyard between the two buildings. So they really, treat it as two separate elements and they're not competing with each other.
I'll just add that Daughtry is correct in that when we have new construction in the historic district, a brand new structure, the brand new structure need not be a reflection of the old architecture. That a modern building, you would say, a modern structure is acceptable in the historic district. So, we can maybe disagree with the design, but the intention of building a new structure is acceptable in the historic district in this particular circumstance.
Mr. Carlton, I am very much in agreement with that. I understand it, but even from this view that I'm seeing here, it reminds me of when you see, broken down churches and just a piece of the wall left. That's what it looks like to me, and I'm having a hard time seeing how this concept of modernism could pass when it looks to me like a broken down wall rather than it looks like a relic, like one wall standing of a demolished building.
I have a sense that most of the committee has no problem with the main building, and the proposals for the main building.
No, I love the main building. I love what they've done.
Yeah, and that the proposal for the work on the main building, I think most acceptable.
Carlton?
Yes, go ahead, Bill.
This is Judy, could we have a sort of separate, could we see another separate image of the carriage house?
This one?
The facade? Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, Carlton,
Yes,
I'm going to
Bill.
make a motion, being that we can't separate this from the carriage house from the main unit. Okay, we're having a problem with the carriage house. I believe the committee is. So because of that, I'm going to make a recommendation that we disapprove.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion to disapprove.
Can I make an amendment to that?
That's all right. See if Bill will take it.
Bill?
Okay, give your motion. Then
I need to hear your motion, right?
Yes.
No, I think we all like what they're doing to the main house. So to disapprove means to reject the main house as well. What I would like to do is to approve and have them do something with the back, fix the back, that it doesn't look like a broken down building.
Well, we can approve the restoration to the main house.
That's what I'm saying. My amendment will be to approve the restoration of with the main house getting approved and the back that they should revisit design.
They go back to the drawing board on
I don't know if we can actually approve one part of it and disapprove another part, because I think this application is one application.
Yes.
No, we are recommending. That doesn't mean what we say they're going to have to do. Landmarks will have their input. But I think we should approve the application, approve what they've done to the main house, and put a condition that the back be revisited.
Bill, what Ms. Ali is asking for is if you can, I think the whole committee probably will agree to the main house that they find the work and the proposal to be acceptable. There's a question to the rear building, and that's what the heart of the disapproval is. So we can still disapprove of the work that's being proposed for the rear structure, but at the same time indicate that we are in support of the main building.
Understood. What I'm going to say is this, okay? My motion is going to be we approve the full restoration of the existing building and we disapprove the new rear addition.
Well,
Okay.
I don't know if we need language that we disapprove. Maybe we just need to say that because they are doing what they're doing
That's
is
my
as of
motion.
right.
That's my motion.
I will
I'm
second
amending it.
that.
I'm amending it. So my language is either you
I'm not
accept.
accepting your language.
Okay, I think I will second Bill's because I think that it makes sense and I think it covers everything. So I think we'll have the motion that we'll work with is an approval of the main building.
Approval of the restoration of the existing building and disapproval
And a disapproval of the
of the new rear yard addition.
rear building, the new rear structure. I will second that.
But what you're doing is you're not making it clear that what you disapprove about the carriage house is its design. You're not.
I think that'll.
You're not disapproving of the fact of the carriage house. You just don't like the design. And it's perfectly appropriate for the community board to state that. We
Okay.
admire.
I accept that, Judy. Okay.
And that can
just-
and that'll be reflected in the minutes that and I think that's because almost everybody has stated that they have a problem. From what I'm hearing, most of the committee seems to have a problem with the design of the rear building. It's not a disapproval of working on the rear building or doing something
Exactly.
with the rear building.
Exactly.
It's rather that the design appears to be unacceptable
Revisited. They need to revisit what they're doing
for the
with
rear building.
space.
Yeah, for the rear building.
Well, I just wanted.
Daughtry,
I
I
just
was
wanted
going to
to-
ask you. Yeah.
Well, I
go,
was just
Daughtry.
going to jump in and say that I think there are some strong positives to the carriage house. And as an architect, I'm trying not to architect the architect. I'm not going to tell him what to do, but I do think that there are some very strong moves that I think should be maintained. So I think it is a massaging and a finessing of the design so that the carriage which stands apart from not only the house on the corner, but the neighboring house on Willoughby, is something that feels more comfortable to the context of the greater neighborhood. I mean, my recommendation would be to tone it down a little bit, to maintain the adjacency on the Willoughby Street side, to keep the materials. You can keep the garage, the outer court you need, and I think that's lovely. I think in my personal opinion, the issues are with what happens when you're looking from the view from the park into that courtyard and there's too much happening at that moment.
Well, that's why my statement was to revisit the design.
Well, that'll be their choice.
Approve the application and revisit the design of the rear
Well, we'll
house.
approve. Yeah, okay, I think we have, Bill's motion, which I have just seconded, I think covers that very well. It covers the acceptance of the carriage house, the main house, and it also conveys our concerns with the design of the secondary house or the little house at the rear.
Carlton, I'll
Carlton,
clean
is
it up.
there any
Excuse me, Hazra,
Sorry,
excuse me.
go ahead. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I will clean this up. Okay. We approve the restoration of the existing building and we disapprove the design of the new yard addition.
I think that clears it up. I think.
Okay, but I have a different question. I'm just wondering about public comments about this this drawing, because he said he was in contact with the neighbor, but I'm wondering if the neighbors saw this design.
Well, I'm concerned about when I bring it up, how the work will affect is, will any work affect the structure and the lively, and the ability to sit in comfort. If the neighbor has a design, they can, that's something else. Our concern with any work that's being done, let's say close to another building, is will that work affect it, how it'll affect it, will the neighbors be in comfort? We've had these situations where, and especially because these buildings are all close to each other. And when we're doing this work, we don't want the other person to be negatively affected. So I think it's, we're not, if the neighbor has a design disagreement, they can contact the Landmark Preservation Commission on that.
Yeah, but that's why the neighbors should have been made aware of the design ahead of time. But you don't want to approve something and then have them pick it in the corner after the fact.
Yeah. Well, they can. They said that the presenters did say that they're in touch with the neighbors, and the neighbors will contact. The only thing that we're concerned with the neighbors is that hopefully that the work being proposed, because there will be work, even if we something's going to happen at that rear structure, and our concern is that the work will not negatively impact upon the neighbor.
Could we hear from the presenter in terms of whether the neighbors were just contacted or whether they saw the structure?
I think our concern is that they contact the neighbors for the work being proposed. Just for that, there's going to be work. There's going to be construction.
I think maybe also Ted can speak to having the conversation with the neighbor in regards to the neighbor on Willoughby.
Yes.
Ted already mentioned that he had contacted them. They had discussions, and yes. I believe you mentioned also underpinning.
Yeah, I think that clarifies. I think that's our main concern. I'm not, if the neighbor doesn't like the design, well, that's another matter. We just want to make sure that they're not negatively impacted. Okay.
So we like Bill's last motion.
Yes,
so
we're going to go with Bill's. We're going to go with. I seconded.
Okay.
I seconded.
Karen, can you repeat the motion, please, so we all hear it again, please? Sorry about that.
All right. We approve the restoration of the existing building and we disapprove the design of the new carriage house.
I think that's clear. If that's clear. Okay. All right. I guess I'll lead we're going to do the little roll call on this.
Chair Gordon.
Okay. Yes. We go with yes. I'm yes for the motion. I just make it plain. If we say yes, we are supporting Bill's motion.
Teo, do you have a point of issue?
I have a question for the chair. There are several requests for public questions or comments in the chat. Is the chair taking public questions or commentary?
You can read it out. I don't know if but you can read it. You can read what you have in the and if you have the questions.
One of them, just feel free to type your question, Nicole Murray. Someone named Pete says they are not mentioning the effect on the property at 174, whose backyard will lose light and will be overwhelmed by this new, quote, carriage house, and asks, why are we not seeing the back of the new structure? And Josh Smith says, for above comment, also 173. Those are the only written comments at this time. Okay,
thank you. Okay, let's get started with the, it's getting a little late now for this one. I'm saying yes on the on Bill's motion. And if you can read off the other committee members and get their vote.
You're doing a roll call?
Yes. Because
okay.
It's, yeah.
Do you want me to do that, or did you?
I don't have a listing of the committee members. Okay. Although I guess I could read off some of the people here.
I think I have a list here. All right. Bill Flournoy?
Yes.
Yeah. Elizabeth Ginsburg?
Yep, approved.
Okay. Irene Janner? I had her down.
Yeah.
Probably on mute.
Okay. Irene? I don't know how to ask her to unmute.
Yeah, you're on mute, Irene. I guess we'll hold till maybe we get back.
I'll come back. Esther?
Yes.
Right. Brian?
No.
No. Ernest?
I know
was here.
he was there. Okay, we'll come back to that. Judy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Hazra?
Yes.
Daughtry?
No.
Okay. And John Dew, did I see you? John?
John Dew was there.
Yeah, he's just.
John Doe
I
is
see.
present but unable to microphone. John, if you'd
Okay.
like to type or nod.
Yeah, John sent a message saying he was having tech trouble.
Okay.
I think he couldn't hear us either.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Irene, do we have you now?
She's still.
I think so. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes on the vote?
I hear it. Yes, you have. Is that correct, Irene? You're yes?
Yes.
Okay.
And do we have Ernest anywhere? Ernest, okay. So
Ernest
John
was-
and Ernest, we weren't able to get. So the motion passes.
What's the number?
Daughtry?
Okay.
Did you abstain?
4, 5. No, Daughtry
No, I
voted
said
no.
no.
No? Okay.
Yeah, she
2
said.
no's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 yes, 2 no's, and 2 of our members can't weigh in, so they don't count, I
Okay,
guess.
8-2.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We're moving on to Waverly. Okay, the next one. I keep hearing something. All right.
Mr. John Doe, I believe, is trying to contact us. John, are you able to speak? Okay, wait.
Well, have to move on.
Do you mind explaining to the public, people that are calling in, that we don't accept public questions necessarily? Because I think some people will get frustrated when they don't know that.
Yes. Very good.
But wait, can I say something about that? One of the public members is saying that they haven't talked to all the neighbors. So this is the community board. We all supposed to listen to this. If they telling us they talked to the neighbors and the people are here saying no, they didn't, we have to take that into consideration.
Yeah, I agree with you, Esther. That's why I'm pushing about any construction that negatively affects any of the neighbors.
We have,
We do have.
Excuse me.
Okay. One. Okay.
We're done with this. We need to move on.
Yes.
Excuse me. So, hi, it's Caroline. Can I speak for a sec? Esther has a point. This is the community board, and people come to the meetings so that they can voice comment. The committee will vote the way it feels to vote. However, we should give space for people who are here to speak on something to speak.
Oh, no, I agree.
I agree, Caroline, but the comment that we're talking about right now came after the vote.
Yeah, and
but we never opened up a space to allow the public to speak, and we should before the vote is taken. So I'm just saying.
Okay, well, now, Caroline. Now the thing is that normally that's where we have the open sessions. Now, if I'm made aware along the line that there are people who wish to speak. And usually that's something that's done when we're all together in person in these pre-COVID times.
And they have to ask through a committee member, right? They can't just raise their hand.
It's either a committee member, that's correct, or one of us. If I can get some, indication that somebody has something that they wish to add that's relevant to it, as chair, I'll take it into consideration and see if it's one that we can go on or not. However, I don't want to get into a situation where it becomes people are coming in and saying, well, who are not committee members or not board members to try to stop the situation that we're trying to work on. So I just want to be careful of that. I will try to take in as much as we can. I see the board office is looking at the chats, if people who are not committee members or board members have something they wish to say on a specific point, you can put it in the chat. The board office will make a notification, and then I can say that's something that we can, and we'll listen to it. I actually read out the chats, and we'll take it into consideration. Now, I really want to get moving on to the next item. We have voted on it. We've given all the consideration due, I think, on that one. 410 to 412 Waverly Avenue. It's in the Clinton Hill Historic District. And the application is to restore the facade of the existing building with new windows, doors, and a rooftop addition. All right, so Waverly Avenue presenter, you have the internet.
I think that's going to be Joe Franchina of Adjourn Associates. This is Mary Kay Judy again.
Okay.
And this is a project where it was permitted by the Landmarks Commission back in January of 2014, and through a series of the contractor that was changed, the permit has expired. And so the project is about 90% complete, and now we are going forward to basically go through the process again to reapply to reinstate this permit. So I'm going to hand it over to Joe to give the presentation.
Carlton, I'd like to know who controls the chat.
The board office.
Could the board office leave the chats up a little longer? I don't always have time to read it. By the time I've spotted.
Well, I don't know if it's so much leaving it. It's part. I think it's part of the way the
Webex
program works.
That's correct. Ms. Stanton, we don't remove them. You actually just have to scroll through them, and the scroll is unfortunately very short.
Yeah, that's the trouble.
Okay, I see Joe French.
It's not an effective way to be hearing from the community when their voice isn't audible and you can't really see what they've typed long enough to reflect on it. I think it's unsatisfying.
Okay. Anyway, I see Joe Francia is listed, but I see he's muted.
I think, is there a way that we can?
Okay, I think he's unmuted. Okay, Joe, I see you're unmuted now.
Excellent.
Mr. Joe Franchina,
Yes.
your audio is very bad.
Oh, no.
That's okay. I recommend if you're trying to share video, there's quite a bit of feedback on your line.
Maybe I should try to do another. Hold on. I'll try to log in a different way.
Joe, we hear you found right now. Just don't turn on your video.
Except that we won't be able to see what, well, okay, explain. Joe, oh, we lost him again.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, so this is basically, you're just looking for the application to be restored. I'm assuming that the application was previously approved. Is that correct?
Yes, it was approved by this community board and also by the Landmarks Commission. So it expired.
So what they're asking for right now is basically just an extension of the application. Is that correct?
In effect, yes.
Okay.
So
have there been any changes to the design at all?
There have been no changes to the design.
May I make a motion?
What is the length of time? When was it permitted?
It was permitted in January 2014.
Okay. And why didn't work continue?
I think the project didn't start right away, but I think I would, it looks like Joe's back with us. Maybe I can hand it over to Joe to tell us a little bit more about the background.
I see his screen.
Joe, are you there?
He's on mute again. Mary, can you?
Can you hear me now?
Can you give a nice summary of what the?
Mr. Franchina, we're able to see your screen, but we are not able to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So in 2000, we got approval in 2014 We started construction in 2015. We ran into problems with our contractor sometime around 2017 because of delays, and we changed our contractor. And in that process of changing, we lost quite a bit of time. And our new contractor is on the job, and he didn't realize the landmarks permit would lapse. Now we're in the situation where we're full bore on construction trying to finish this job, or we've lost our landmarks permit.
So, Joe, did you hear the questions previously? Has there been any changes to the application?
There has not.
Okay, so it's the same application, you just need an extension, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. Mr. Chair, may I make a motion?
It's a lost
Mr.
Carlton.
We lost Carlton. Okay,
Don't turn me
Ms.
off.
Janner?
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, may I make a motion to approve?
Yes, please do.
Second.
I'll second.
Second. All right, we'll read off actually, I can see some of the names here now. I have the names here. Me, yes. Brian Howland.
Yes.
Okay. Daughtry.
Yes.
Elizabeth Ginsburg.
Yes.
Esther.
Yes.
Azra Ali.
Yes.
Okay. Irene.
Yes.
John Doe.
He's having audio.
He's having
problem.
trouble. Judy.
Yes.
Okay. Karen.
Yes.
Okay. Did I get it? I think I got everybody. Did I miss Bill? Of course.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And yourself.
And myself again. Yes. I think we have a unanimous on that one.
Yep.
Did I miss any men? I think I got everybody. Okay. Yeah. I think we got everybody. Okay. So yes, we approve your application to get another permit. Let's see. That comes out to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10, 0, 0. Okay, thank you. Okay. Now we're over to 72 Downing Street, Clinton Hill Historic District, and the application is to replace a third floor window at the front facade. And the applicant anticipates receiving LPC staff approval for the replacement of the other windows in the front and rear. Now I see something. There was a note on the in the agenda about the request for proposal included. There was supposed to be a contract a contact info from the architect, but they weren't able to get a hold of the architect. But tell us where you are, the presenter on 72 Downing, and have you received your approvals from the LPC and what needs to be done?
Excuse me,
Yeah?
I'm not sure if anyone is on for this application. This was a conversation that Mr. Paris had with someone, but there was no further confirmation. However, it was added to the agenda in case the person thought that was sufficient.
Okay, I'll just go through the the motions. Is there anybody on this internet thing who's ready to present on the matter of 72 Downing Street in the Clinton Hill Historic District? Going once? Going twice? All right, not there. Okay, so that we have no We have no comment on it at this time. All right, let me just move on next. Want to get an approval of the minutes from, what's this? This is December, for the December meeting. Once again, Karen Johnson did a great job. Do we have any comments or problems with the minutes? Hearing none, we'll mark them down as the minutes for December 2020 as approved. Chairs, I'll move over to the chair's report. And okay, we have a couple of quick items. One thing that I promised Daughtry, and Daughtry, this is the one that you asked for. Daughtry pointed out that in the real estate section, which I have here, for Sunday, January 10th, it was a very interesting front page article in the real estate section about the preservation of structures around the city that relate to the Underground Railroad. Now, the cover story was about a wonderful building that exists up in Washington Heights. However, the person who did who was the journalist, also did their homework and pointed out that we also have one here at 227 Duffield Street that we have been supporting for quite some time. And that's also in the article, just not on the front page. But it's and they also have a picture of the 227 Duffield, which has been sitting there for quite some time. And I've been informed that the landmarks preservation, it's before landmarks preservation and still waiting for approval. So Daughtry, this is yours, I promise. And anything you wish to tell us or add, or this is yours.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to bring it to our attention because it is important and it's in our district. Landmarks says that the hearing on this location has been calendared, but I can't find it on the calendar. In addition, the, I guess, new owner has filed for the new 13-story building to be constructed on the site, but none of the permits have been granted or approved yet. So I wondered if we might want to, I think historically before my time, the community board did write a letter of support, Carol Ann was reminding me, and that we could resubmit that letter of support, or we could discuss it. I just wanted to bring it to our attention because it is important.
Well, I think that I think I can say for the committee, I think almost everybody here will be in support, of our previous efforts, and I'm sure that they will support it again. And what I like to perhaps suggest is that the either a further letter be sent, upon approval either by the executive committee, they'll be meeting on Monday, and to further remind LPC that Brooklyn Community Board 2 supports this effort to preserve 227 Duffield Street as a important historic artifact of the Underground Railroad in Brooklyn.
I second that.
Yeah, okay.
That was actually a motion. I was going to say.
Is that the language of the motion?
I'll make that as the language of the motion. All right.
So basically,
so we're talking about a building or an artifact?
Building.
So, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I might understand that basically the committee is going to vote to resubmit the original letter.
Resubmit an original letter, or even if you want to do a new letter. I mean, we could leave that up to Carol Ann, however you want to. But you can just simply say, back several years ago, this board approved it. And by the way, we still would like for you to consider it and approve it. I think that's the,
Okay. So it's going to come out of the committee if we approve it. to go to the executive committee.
Right.
Okay.
Is there any further?
Just clarifying that what we're actually doing. We're actually approving it in the committee to go to the executive committee.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, any further,
We have two hands up.
okay, I think almost everybody, I think, is there
No.
a item approval? Do we have a?
Excuse me,
Yes,
Chair. We have Ms. Hubbard Kumunanwiri wanting to speak.
okay, yes. Yeah, how you doing?
You're on
You
mute.
muted.
Still on mute.
I just wanted to ask you to repeat the date of that New York Times article.
Oh, that's, okay, it's
I
from
put it in the chat.
Sunday. Okay, it's in the second, you got it?
It was January 8th.
January 8th.
Oh, that's the, okay, that's probably the online version. I'm one of these last old fools that still actually buys the paper. So the hard copy came out in the Sunday, January 10th real estate section. So I guess it's January 8th is probably the online. January 10th real estate section is the hard copy, which I have.
Thank you.
Okay. And what's nice about the hard copy is that you actually can see a nice photograph later in the article of 227 Duffield Street. So you can see it. When I saw it, I said, of course, I've walked by it many times. I'm sure many people have walked by it many times. You wouldn't know that it's a place of history. Okay, since we have, I think we have a general sense of it, but do we want, okay, we'll take a quick roll call vote for this one. And I have the names in front.
I wanted to say something just a little bit before the committee votes.
Yeah.
There was an article as well in the Brooklyn paper that talks a little bit about how EDC is going to memorialize this area. And I don't know if committee members read it, but if you did, you may want to consider including some of that language in the letter that will eventually go to LPC.
Perhaps, Carol, I don't know if there's a way to get a signed copy of that to committee members to take in, at least this way, then when I present it on Monday, I guess I can also refer to it as well.
The link is in the chat and I'll send it to
Oh, okay, great. Thanks.
Secretary Johnson as well. And just to add on to Ms. Church's comment, the Willoughby Square updated proposal was actually rejected for a vote in the Parks Committee meeting last week because they were not satisfied with the details related to 227 Duffield. So you could review that Parks Committee meeting on the YouTube channel if you like.
That's okay. But I think just whoever, I guess will get that from probably Barbara Zeller-Green will probably will add in on that. But thank you. Okay, so I'll just run through. We have our motion and it's been seconded. I'm in favor of it. Let's see now. Brian Howland.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Daughtry?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Elizabeth Ginsburg?
Yes.
Esther?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Hazra Lee?
Yes.
Okay. Irene?
Yes.
Okay. John Doe? Can you hear?
John typed a yes in favor of landmark status for Duffield Street motion.
Okay. Judy Stanton?
Yes.
Yes. Karen Johnson?
Yes.
Okay. And Bill Flournoy?
Yes, with the addition from the comments from the board office.
Okay. Okay, thank you, everybody. All right. Other business? Do we have any other business from any committee members, board members?
I have another one. Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead, Bill.
Okay, thank you, Daughtry. Previously this committee was addressing the AMI and other issues as far as affordable housing. Are we going to move forward on that?
I know there was some work on that. I know Irene was working on that for a while. I don't know if it's where it is exactly. But it's a, I have no problem if we can, if something can be brought before us on that matter. I don't have anything new on it.
I'll pull my stuff together. I guess our COVID and everything kind of stopped our meetings, but I'll pull what I have together to send to the committee for our next meeting.
That would be great, Irene. Or you can present it, however, if you feel comfortable. I know you have to do it by your phone instead of these laptop thingies, but however you feel most comfortable in presenting it to the committee, that would be great. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if I have stuff that looks good, I could send it to the board office to show. Okay. I just don't have a camera. I'm on a computer, but I don't have a camera.
All right. Okay. Maybe the office could help you with that since the office has really gone high tech.
Irene, we will accept your visuals at any time.
Oh, there that is. Okay. Any other business?
I have another one, which is that, and Mr. Dew also brought this up in his community digest, but there is a bill, City Council has put together a bill to reimagine city planning. And in our role as community board members, particularly on the land use committee, I believe we should all read that document and that we should have an opinion about it because it changes, it purports to elevate our role in decision making, but to the point of Mr. Dew's article that he linked to Tom Angotti, who was at Pratt and has been studying community development for a long time. It's a little bit more of the show than it is the actual. So I think it's worth us at least spending some time as a committee talking about it and having some lively discussions about how we might change what they put before us.
That's a positive. This is the 10-year thing, if I recall. It's the this is the 10. Yeah, I've seen something. I've seen something on it. I couldn't get a sense. Is this something good, or is it something that could really blow up and be horrible to us? I could not get a sense as to is this something that could be effective? But yes, I mean, further discussion I think would be useful at some point, just to get a feel for it.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
The Economic Development and Employment Committee is also taking a look at this also. So I believe other committees are going to start taking a look at this. So it might be a good idea for land use to do also.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think we should take a look at it. It is being discussed, and we should know, we should get a sense as to how this will affect us. I mean, look what's happened in our neighborhoods, especially in downtown, in the last 8 to 10 years. So we should know. I have one thing just out of personal experience and a recommendation. A little bit different, but yeah.
Mr. Chair, you have a comment coming from the board office?
Oh, go ahead. Yes, yeah.
So I just want to suggest on that document that maybe we look at it and think of what can go into our needs statement and budget priorities, because it's possible some of that might get enacted, but even if it doesn't, it might be a new way for us to think of what we ask the city for.
No, I agree. I mean, I think we really want to get a good look at that. So yeah, we would like at some point we will if we can get a hold of the proposal, we could study it, read it, and be prepared to give our comments at a future meeting, and perhaps we even cast a vote on it. But we should at this point will need to see. I think I need to see more on it. Some of it sounds interesting. Is it good or bad? I can't tell yet.
Can we maybe get a copy and then look it over and start comments next meeting? Would that be a doable thing? At least start the discussion? I mean, depending on the length of the meeting.
The full report has been emailed to the full board.
We got a copy.
Oh, thank you. I'll check.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, now I'm just going to here's the thing I was going to throw out is I had a chance to go to the new Moynihan, well, you can call it the new Moynihan train hall over by Pennsylvania Station. And I think it's worth a visit for a committee man if you get a chance. It's not required, but I think it's worth because it's a very interesting development of keeping an old historic structure and making a new use inside the old historic structure. I had to go by there to post one of my bills. I climbed the steps as I usually do at the General Post Office and put my bill in. And they said, "Oh, here's the new station," and you can just walk right in. And it's a magnet. I think it's very good. I thought it was very well done. It's modern, but it's modern use inside of an older structure. The most interesting thing, what I felt they did, was that they did keep the wonderful old, neither rain nor snow, gloom of night, but they relit it in a very dramatic way. And just walking around, it's very interesting. The bathrooms are nice, although they're towards the rear of the train hall. And right now it services Amtrak and some of the Long Island Railroad. So it's worth if you're in Midtown, I'd say take a good look. You can walk in either on the ground floor or go up the steps, go through the post office, which is still up the steps is still a post office. You can still pick up some stamps and put your mail in, but then you go further and then it comes into the train hall. So you might want to take a look at it as historic use of the modern use inside a historic structure. Okay, last thing we have here is community forum. And this is now where non-members of the committee or non-board members can speak. Do we have any who wish to speak on any topic?
I have a Nicole Marie.
Yeah, yes.
Hi, I think this is my first or second land use meeting. I can't remember. I live in Willoughby Walk.
Okay, what's your name?
Nicole.
Okay, Nicole.
Hi. So to get targeted about that first building, I love that building, the 176 Washington. I was a little obsessed with it. I found the great-great-grandson of the old owner.
I briefly saw your little comment on it. You said you found it.
Yeah.
He lives here still.
He does now. He's a student. His family lives in Seattle. Anyway, the carriage house, not my taste. I thought it was a little funny looking. But the house now, which I adore, I think is the coolest house ever. It is empty. It is derelict. It is crumbling. It is the home to cats and raccoons. I think if any delay and because of the design, if it delays breaking ground, I don't know if that would, but let's, think about a better use of this land and its homes, right? I don't know if saying that the design is unapproved is going to stop the front of the house getting turned into those apartments, which I think is great, rather than having, one mansion for one family, having homes for 5 families. Awesome. But let's not slow things down just because we don't like the facade of one part of it, which right now is a crumbling garage that is sagging in the middle and only cats live inside of it. So I don't know if it's going to slow it down, but if it does, I would say I think that's bad news for the neighborhood.
Well, our process now is having vote. We did vote, as you saw or you heard, in favor of at least the work that's being done on the main structure. So now that's going to go, I'm going to present that Monday to our executive committee, and I'm sure they will approve it. I can't see how, but I'm sure they will approve it. And then it'll be sent to the Landmarks Preservation Commission, and then they will have to make that determination as to whether or not they want to, how they want to handle it, both the main building and the small secondary building.
Yeah, I would just like last comment before I give it up. I would just hate to see people's, a handful of people in a community board of 102,000 residents, their opinions about, what looks nice or what doesn't look nice, holding up what could be, a nice home for a family.
Well, LPC will make that determination ultimately. They will listen. Anybody that comes before them, again, if neighbors are not happy with a design, they can contact the LPC and see when it comes up and say, this is what we like for you to vote for or against that, the application that's before you. But it's now on the conveyor belt, so to speak.
Carlton, excuse me.
Yeah, hi, Judy.
Nicole, have you ever testified at the Landmarks Commission?
I have not.
I have not.
You really, I think it's important that you do, since you have a history with that house. So why don't you sign up to speak? If you send your email to the board office, I'm sure they can, or if I had your email, I would send it to you. The instructions for how to participate in a Landmarks Commission hearing?
Actually, it just came up again very quickly. I see it on the chat, but it's I guess the best way is to go on the site, the city. If you go to the city's website and then the LPC, and they do have ways of getting so that you can contact them and to get information and to send your.
The instructions are all right there on the Landmarks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Judy. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other community people? If none, I'll take a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Yes.
Second.
I thank everybody for their patience and cooperation on this one. And I guess we'll see you all next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlton.
Thank you.
Daughtry,
everybody.
for your input. I appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.